Hey there, everybody. I am so excited to share with you Nicole Miller. If you are in the need of a good laugh, because quite frankly, if we don't laugh, we'll cry, then you're going to enjoy this episode. Nicole Miller is a comedian and improviser from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Nicole began performing at an early age, being cast in plays and musicals starting as young as 11, and eventually appearing in several commercials and films, including Heaven's Date and The Rock and Roll Dreams of Duncan Christopher. I'm dying to hear a little bit more about that. She has an education degree and taught theater in several Oklahoma schools. She honed in on her performing talent and studied at the Second City in Chicago. She is the co-founder and director of Crayons Improv, Tulsa's premier improv group, performing improvised comedy regularly. As a stand-up comedian, Nicole loves spreading laughter through her fresh take on motherhood, marriage, and surviving cancer. Her stand-up special, Okayest Mom, is streaming on Amazon Prime. Welcome, Nicole. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me, Trisha.
I am super excited. I just need to laugh, Nicole. There, because honestly, like I said a minute ago, sometimes we really do need to just laugh. If you don't,
Yes.
you'll just cry. And for those of you listening, the biggest draw to Nicole for me, and for me to be sharing Nicole with you, is her Okayest Mom, because let's be honest, we all struggle with feeling like we're not the best at what we do, even when you are the obsessive Pinterest moms. I feel like those ladies are all about trying to make it look like they're better than the Okayest Mom, but I don't think so.
Part of being okayest is just being like, I am not going to be that perfect mom ever.
Right.
And just accepting it, because if I've strived for perfection, I know it's not going to happen. So I just it really helps me, not to get too worried about perfection, and just like, I'm not here to win an award.
Right. I think it boils down to really just being satisfied with yourself and the way you parent, quite frankly. I mean, I can't fathom, I could sit here and mull over my children. I have 3 as well. I have 2 girls and a boy. And as a now grandparent, I can look back on my experience parenting and go, oof, coulda, shoulda, wouldas, or I can just be like, you know what, I did the best I could with what I had, and praise God I was able to get through it, because it's a challenge. Parenting is really hard.
Yes, it is. It is. I remember when I was a little kid, I was one of 7. So I thought, I'm going to have 4 kids. And then what I really should have done was have 1 and then decide. Because I had my heart set on 4 kids. I'm going to have 4 kids. That number changed. I think we're set at 3 for sure. Yes. For sure, 3.
Yes. Well, based on your Okayest Mom on Amazon, it sounds like your husband can't handle it again. Yeah, so
he couldn't do that again. It's so hard on the men. We always worry about the moms. We don't worry about the men.
Yes, they need all the compassion through that process, I'm sure. Yeah, I feel so sorry for the men.
It was so tough. It was very tough on him. I felt so bad for him in that moment.
Yes, I bet you did. I bet you were just in tears over what trauma he was going through.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have heard horror stories about men passing out and not being able to even handle the birthing process. And my daughter had a baby back on Thanksgiving Day, and
wow,
and she ended up having a C-section. Yes, something to be thankful for sure. I have heard so many stories of men just not being able to handle birth, and I find that very humorous.
He didn't pass out.
Good.
But if he just hates anything medical, and he has passed out in the past, like just getting blood drawn from him, or seeing a needle or something like that. So I think it probably was better that it was a C-section because of that. They do
Yes.
put that blanket up or whatever sheet. I don't know.
Right. 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 All right. Let me get into the questions for you, Nicole. This podcast is dedicated to inspiring women to have a deeper connection to Christ. What suggestions do you have to help them move just one step closer to having a deeper relationship with Jesus?
I don't know about you, but just having small kids. I know you said you have your
Mhm.
granddaughter around, right?
Yes.
It just really messes with your schedule. So I think it's important um to put just a little bit of Jesus in every day.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be, like I said, I'm not trying to be perfect.
Right.
I'm the okayest mom. I'm probably the okayest Christian as well,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not going to be praying for 2.5 hours and
Right.
watching, the the pastor sermon 8 times a week or whatever.
Right. Right.
So I think just even a little bit. I used to do this thing when I taught public school. And it really got me through the day. And I would get to school in the parking lot. And before I go in, I would just pray. Even if it was just a 30-second prayer,
Mm-hmm.
that day was so much better than the days that
You
I
didn't.
I didn't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even if that's all the Jesus I had time for that day,
Yeah.
then I'm
Yeah.
doing everything else, and it's hard to always remember, oh, I need to do that too.
I
It really
find that
should.
if I don't pray, my situations are usually a lot worse.
Yeah.
If I pray over something, things go a lot easier. So trying to make sure I have that um, time with Jesus is pretty necessary for me, anyways. I think that it's kind of one of those, um, it's a relationship versus a dictatorship or religion for me, for sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us maybe get in the habit of just, well, we're going to go to church or whatever, and that's
Yeah,
it for the week. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just is a lot better with more than that.
sure.
And I know a lot of us we seek a higher power whenever there's something wrong.
Hmm.
And honestly, it's like when everything's good, that's when we should also make that a priority. Like,
Yes.
everything's good. Let's keep it that
Let's
way.
be grateful for
Yeah,
everything being okay, because who knows when the bottom's going to drop out, right? I mean, it's could be any minute.
exactly.
So let's go on to question number 2. Your special on Prime is Okayest Mom, as we mentioned earlier. Can you unpack that concept for us? What societal pressures do you feel around motherhood, and how do you navigate them while staying true to yourself and family?
Well, the reason why I am the okayest mom, and I just barely touch it in my special, is because my children deserve better than I could ever be. Like, they're
Yes.
just the most amazing people. I've created people that are way better than me, smarter, um, even funnier sometimes.
That's that's hard to believe.
They're just amazing. So I'm like, I'm never going to be good enough.
Yeah.
So, um, just keep, and this is kind of a bad way to put it, but just don't lose custody of them. Just
Yeah.
make sure they're fed, they're watered, they're
Right.
showered, and we have shelter.
Get them to
So,
school on time. Make sure you're at the bus
oh,
stop. That
not
kind
on
of stuff.
time, not on time, but just get them
Get
there.
them there.
They're
There.
there. It doesn't matter the time.
Right. Right. As long as they show up.
And I I'm on Pinterest sometimes, and I see these moms, they put on these beautiful, I think of birthday parties,
Yeah.
everything's homemade. They've worked on it for literally weeks.
Yes.
And I don't have that kind of mental capacity to think about a birthday party that long, I think. Or to even plan knowing that, oh wait, that your birthday is actually in a month, so I need to plan ahead. So I just have given myself that freedom to not be perfect,
Right.
and progress over perfection, and getting things done it's done is better than perfect.
Right. Well, and I think it's important to know your limits, not only your limits, but your gifts too. You know, I think God gives us certain things, I mean, we're all our own individual selves. There are women who are okayest in certain areas and phenomenal in others, you know, and I think that it's okay to not be perfection because no one is expected to be perfect, you know. There none of us are perfect but Jesus as far as I'm concerned. So you're gonna have you're gonna have some, and if you don't stick with having that concept of, okay, I am the okayest mom, then you're probably going to be disappointed in yourself. And then that goes into self-doubting and, you know, did I do this good? Did I do that good? And that isn't healthy. It's not.
Yeah.
I hear you, sister. Uh, oh, nope, trash is still there.
Yeah, part of me, I'm like, I could go close the blinds, but I think they would
There's
still
no need. By then the
hear.
truck will be gone. Yeah, no
I'm
worries.
so sorry.
It's all right. You gave me a
I should
chance
have
to
kept
drink
them
them.
up late last night and made
Right.
them take a nap.
Right. I understand that Benadryl works on dogs just like it does on
I
children.
might try it. And if I put them in a different room or something like that, they're just gonna bark. They'll
Oh yeah,
just bark the whole
yeah. Oh, I
time.
know.
So
I've tried that before. I put them all outside this room and then they stand at the door and whine. So I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to work either. So I got you. No worries.
she was just right in the mic. So I'm so sorry about that.
It's all right.
She's like barking into the microphone.
It's all right.
It's gonna be so loud.
I'm anxious to hear it. I think I might keep a little bit of it in because it just might add some humor.
Just
You know what I'm
hey,
saying?
this is the Okayest podcast. Right.
That's right.
I feel like I might also be an okayest dog mom because
Yeah.
she is not okay with any, like, she doesn't act like this.
All right, let's start over from the beginning. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So every mom has a cringeworthy story that could potentially be funny. So I'm hoping you're going to share one of those with everybody about where you attempted at being a perfect mom and that backfired hilariously. Let's hear it, Nicole.
Well, Trisha, one of our favorite holidays is Halloween. We really do it up big. I just love it. I know that's kind of controversial. I've been in the church, so most of my friends, though, I don't have a problem with it. But
Yeah.
We just celebrate candy on Halloween.
Yeah.
That's really that's really what it's
I
about.
like to dress up.
We decided to do like a family costume. And we went all out. We got these cool Ghostbuster outfits and we looked really sharp. And that year we had already gone to like a Six Flags and got this pass. So we could go for the whole year. We could just live at Six Flags with this pass or whatever.
Yep.
And we have a park here in Oklahoma called Frontier City, and it was bought by Six Flags. So we went to their Halloween thing, and I was like, we're so cool. We're the best parents ever. And we show up and we find out that like costumes are not allowed at all. And I think it's just for like ages 16 and up or something. Like if you're older, you're not supposed to wear a costume. I think it's just for kids. And we're out because it took me a while. I was looking around. I was like, oh, we're cool because nobody else thought to do this. Then I realized I'm just like breaking the park rules the whole time. But I think the whole point was they wanted it to be kind of a family friendly event. And, you know, a lot of the costumes can really scare younger kids.
Sure.
So I think if we came in with like blood and like gore and gross,
they might have
we probably would have been that whole time though. I was like, are we going to get kicked out? I just felt off that whole time. And I felt kind of like I'm setting a bad example because I'm breaking the rules. But I thought, oh, we got so many cool pictures. It's going to be great.
Yep.
And that same time, you know, we had this pass. We're going to all these parks. Just I had a show in Texas or something, so we went to their It was like in October too. I
Yeah.
don't know what they called it. I'm going to call it Harvest Festival because I'm Christian. I don't know what else it's called.
Six Flags. First of all, St. Louis right here. We have a Six Flags. It's called Fright Fest. It's
Oh, Fright Fest. That's what it was.
not
It was
Harvest.
Fright Fest, probably. And my kids love Halloween. I wasn't even thinking anything of it. I was like, this will be fun for them. And I think my son was like 5 at the time. And we walk in. I didn't know it was like for 16 and up. And that whole time he's like terrified.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
ended up taking the older kids, and my husband's not really into like being scared. It was a lot. It was a lot scarier than I thought. I felt
Yeah. You don't
so
want to go at
bad. I was
night.
like,
Definitely don't want to go at night. Yeah.
well, yeah, I think that was the problem. We
Yeah.
went there in the evening.
Yeah.
And I think during the day when we were
Yes.
the Ghostbusters at
It
the
would
other
have been a
park,
little bit.
it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah.
So that whole year of having a pass to Six Flags, I didn't know what was up. I did.
Yeah.
And I thought I'm going to really nail it at being a mom, but I traumatized my small child. I don't remember what he saw, but they had the actors, and they're
Oh,
dressed up and they come up to you.
mm-hmm.
That was the thing. I didn't know they were going to come up to
Yeah.
them. So,
Yeah.
but it was easy to avoid the scary thing. So I think he went to one and was like, this is not,
enough. Yeah. We'll wait till
this is
you're a little
not
bit
for
older.
me. And then I looked it up and then I found out at that moment.
Yeah. Sure.
So
While you're
everyone
there.
was looking at me like, why does she have this baby in a haunted house? I didn't know.
Yeah, that's great. I can very well, being that I live in a Six Flags town, I can very much relate. In fact, our kids, we lived so close that we would go like, just like, when everybody's leaving, we would go because then, we could get on the rides and ride them all the time, like we could go for an hour, get ourselves a funnel cake and head out, and the Fright Fest definitely did a number on a couple of my children as well. So I can relate. I
thought, we'll just have them go to the kids area and ride rides. Well, that's closed down because it's not for kids. And I was like, oh, gee, minis, I have really screwed this up.
Let's go on the Ferris wheel and stay at the top as long as we can. That's funny. All right. As a working mom, what are some time-saving hacks or routines you've developed that help you stay sane and present with your family?
Well, we believe in the Miller household that it's not all on the mom to keep this house moving, keep everything going. So everybody has a chore or chores, I should say, that they're going to do. I'm not going to do it all. I never was.
Yeah.
Honestly, even if other people weren't going to do it, I wasn't going to get it all done. So, when people come to my house, sometimes they're like, it looks like a child cleaned. And that's because they did. So I have my kids clean and they do their own laundry. I just do my laundry and my 8-year-old son. I'm not ready for him to destroy a $3,000 appliance yet.
Right.
When he's a little bit older, I think my girls were like 11-ish.
Yep. It's about the same time I started my kids on doing their own laundry too, sister. Because man, it genuinely does take a village to get it all done. And if we try to consume ourselves with doing it all ourselves, we become pretty stressed out and pretty miserable,
And honestly, that's something I have guilt over. And I feel like that makes me okayest is because I'm not doing everything for my kids. But then I have my eldest and she is going to go to college next year and she's doing stuff on her own. And I'm like, well, if I had done her laundry for her till now, I think she would have felt pretty lost maybe.
Right.
So
there's a lot of, there's independence that comes with helping them do those little things, because when they do move out, because God only gives us our children for a certain amount of time. I'm a huge believer in counseling. I'm gonna need it probably for the rest of my life. But I do believe that children benefit a great deal from having responsibilities, age appropriate responsibilities put on them at a young age, because ultimately we don't have them our whole lives. We have them for 18 years. And that was one of the things my counselor had recently told me. She's like, I have a 29-year-old son, and I'm like, and she's like, not your responsibility. You had 18 years, and that's your job was 18 years to teach them. Once they become an adult, there's not a lot you can do. And if you haven't instilled important things and values into them, like being independent and being able to meet the daily expectations of life, it's going to be a hard road. Yeah, buddy.
I don't know what you want. Do you want on my lap? Do you want on my lap? She's a mess.
JJ is your middle child?
He's the youngest.
Youngest. Gotcha. Okay. He's your favorite because that's the one you sit in the back seat with your daughter. Yeah.
He's our favorite child.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Let's talk about how faith plays a role in your parenting and decision making. Does it?
I think it does. I think whenever I discipline my kids, I don't just always put it on God. I feel like that's how my parents did it with me a lot of times. And I just try to explain to them just real world ramifications of their actions. It's not always you're going to go to hell. I like to maybe explain things a little bit better. I feel like sometimes Christians just use that as like, well, God won't like it. And that's it, instead of like really explaining something to them.
I think genuinely having a understanding of why we want to discipline or teach our children something is important. So frequently, you hear parents say, "Because I said so," and that really doesn't teach them anything. I think having the ability to education of the expectations and intertwining your faith in God. I've spoken with many women who talk about how, the fear of God was put on them. Like, if you don't do this, and I'm like, that's not what God's really about. That shouldn't be the way our children have to have a, strong relationship with God, but at the same time, not fear. I mean, it's not very effective. Some people, I guess it has been, but definitely not for me.
Yeah.
It made me run.
Yeah, mine wasn't that bad. I just thought, I'm open and honest with my kids. We can't do something. Usually we don't have the money to do it. So,
That's truth.
I don't remember my parents really talking about finances much with me at all. Like my kids kind of know when payday is, which is kind of a double-edged sword.
Yes.
Because they're like, hey, tomorrow's payday. Let's go. Mm-hmm. And they have ideas on how to
spend your money. That's funny. Yeah, no, I do think I have a similar situation where my children think I'm, bank of mom, where like it's always readily available, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I don't have that kind of. I'm not. There is no money tree in this house. So, it is doing a disservice when we don't share with them certain things. But then at the same time, okay, parents were the same way. I wasn't raised knowing anything about my parents' finances. So I was able to be more of a kid, I would say, but at the same time, because I've thought about that before, as a parent, like, okay, because I've shared a lot about my finances with my children and even my granddaughter. She's like, well, do you have money for this? Do you have money for this? So I'm like, ugh. I mean, so it does tend to backfire as well at my house, because you're like, well, this is the dollar store, Mommy. And I'm like, yeah, no, I still don't have the money for it. Whether it's the dollar store or the $100 store, Mimi doesn't have it. So trying to get somebody children, especially, to grasp the concept of money, that doesn't really happen until they move out. I've learned that.
Yeah. As a kid, they made sure we weren't worried about money. But now that I'm older, I'm like, I think we probably struggled more than I ever knew.
Sure.
And so I never let the kids know if there's anything,
sure,
going on, like explicitly, just like, hey, this is what we have money for, what we don't have money for, and that sort of thing. But now that I'm grown, I don't think we've had our water shut off more than like once or twice by the city, like doing work. And when I was growing up, it would go off once a month. And, and my parents would be like, they're working on the water right now. And I'm thinking, I don't know this for a fact. I probably should ask my mom before I mentioned this. We maybe just lived in a really bad part of town that like the water just never worked. But also I'm like, did we just need to pay that $20 bill or what was up with that?
We have the garbage truck bill that comes like every 3 months, right? So, it's like one of those ones where you just sit down and don't think about, and until they don't pick up your trash. And then you're like, wait a minute, what are we missing? So yes, I can very much relate to that. It's terrifying. And my granddaughter has been like, why is the trash still in the trash cans? Didn't they pick it up? I was like, no, they just drove right past. I don't know. They must have not seen the trash cans. So I can relate. I can very much relate. That's it. That's funny. Yeah, I've had a couple incidences where I actually tried to educate my children on the value of having electricity by literally turning it off and telling them that I couldn't afford the bill. And now I paid the bill. I mean, and the electricity was on, right? But I mean, I turned it all off. And I tried so hard to get that. I'm like, you understand the important, so we literally went it was like an evening, and it was in the summer. So the air conditioning was a big deal.
Oh
I had one of those
no.
little handheld battery operated fans they didn't know about. I was like doing this with my face to try to cool myself up, but I was trying to teach them a lesson. I'm like, you know what? You need to appreciate the things we have and the money that I spend to keep the lights on for you.
Exactly.
You got to be creative in those areas for sure. For sure. Which goes to having that might be a little bit more than okayest. That might be a bit much, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I might be a little too good of a mom to call myself okayest. I need to chill out here. I'm teaching them responsibility. My eldest just got like a real job for the summer, like a full-time. Like if she wanted to, I guess she could get health insurance through her job. She's 18.
Good for her.
At least that, I mean, I don't feel like I'm doing enough or the things I should be doing, but so far it's working. Okay.
It's working okay. All right, I got one last question for you, Nicole, and I'll let you get out of here. For those of that might be new to this podcast, this is when I like to share on each episode that I have purchasable socks that I make for every episode. That is my niche. I love it. It's so fun to do. And I sell them on my website. The Bible verse preference is on the bottom of each sock. So last fun question, Nicole. What Bible verse will be on the bottom of your socks and why?
It's going to be Romans 8:28.
It's a good one.
It says, we know that all things work together for good for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. And I was like, well, I'm a comedian, so I need to find like a dumb Bible verse that's funny. And then I was like, I usually, if somebody's going through a hard time, sometimes I'll just, on a card or something, just say Romans 8:28 so they can look it up if they want to.
Yeah.
And it's just a good reminder that things are going to happen in our life and they're not all going to be good.
Yes.
But at the end, when the dust settles and we look back, we're like, oh, we're in a better place now than I was when I thought everything was perfect or whatever. Also, it's important to remember that this verse is not for everybody. It's not going to all work out if you don't love God.
That's right.
If you're not called according to his purpose. So that's kind of a hard pill for some people to swallow. But it just kind of reminds you that, God's there for us and he's going to get better.
It's got to get better, Nicole.
And Pickles that's my pug that's barking at me. She
Poor Pickle.
Treats.
Yeah, it's all good. Gotta love a good pickle.
They're all gone. They're all gone. This is she's my most challenging child right now. Like JJ's my favorite, but right now my most challenging is my 9-month-old Pickles the Pug. And I'm sorry we destroyed your podcast. It
Oh
was not
no,
on
it
purpose.
just adds flavor, Nicole. It's all about flavor. All right, let's plug your socials.
Here, we'll just. Well, she just needed a break. Okay, here's Pickles. And she's going to help me say it. She's going to be pug breathing into the microphone.
Staying in, Nicole.
Okay, so she's going to help me. So if anyone's like, what's that noise? That's Pickles. You can follow Pickles on my pug era. She has her own stuff because I love
Does
taking pictures of my Pickles the Pug. Anyways, but more about me. I'm Nicole Miller Comedy on Insta, TikTok, Facebook, and I do have a Twitter or whatever. It's like Nicole U Miller, but I bet you if you Googled Nicole Miller Comedy on there, I bet you I'd pop up.
Right on.
And everybody needs to go check out my special on Amazon Prime. It's called Okayest Mom with an exclamation point. And it's just a couple bucks, and then review it and give me the worst review. I want a bad review on this, actually. Like, I understand. It's my first comedy special. So it wasn't going to be great. I was going for okay.
Well, for the record, Nicole, I thought it was better than okay. I thought it was funny. I had a great time. My granddaughter and I sat and listened to it this morning just laughing. So you're good. You're doing great.
Good. Thank you so much for letting her watch
Thank you
it.
for socking it to him, Nicole. There's been some socks being thrown for sure.
Oh man.